but it's just to give you a flavour of not just the tool and how it functions, but obviously how it's applied in real life to actual projects in a way that you'd wish. So if there's any questions after the webinar, you can obviously write to us or your representative in your market area, and I just want to say any further information about the tool itself. So firstly, I'll just go into my Revit project, and you can see here that it's just a demo project, as I'm sure you've seen before. But the first application I'm going to show is editing and updating the space data for MEP spaces in the Revit model. You can see that some of these spaces have flow rates. We've also got data in here for the piping, which some heating. These are the space tags, by the way, and nothing unusual. It's just some space tags that's mapped to some parameters in here to pick up the data that you wish to display in this particular view. So it's quite straightforward. If you go into the MagiCAD Common Tools tab here, there's a spreadsheet here. Click on that, and then click on Spreadsheet Export. And in this window, you will find that we have a list on the left-hand side of available categories. This is to provide you with all the categories. These are Revit categories, not MagiCAD product classes or anything like that. These are plain Revit categories, and whatever the view is displaying, that can be whether it's filters or graphic settings or whatever it is, will be available in here. And all you do is choose from this available list of categories. So look at spaces, and then in here you have a list of parameters. You can also filter on instance or type, or both non-common, shared, non-shared, and shared. So you can filter all the way through there to get your list of parameters out. Or you can also type. So if I want to type in like a load, just put load in there and it will filter. I'll put in heating, type in heat. You can see there you can choose whichever parameter you want. So design heating load. I want to put in some cooling, design cooling load, like so. Maybe I want to choose my room number, so my space number, space name, and they just get selected into this parameter list here. And once they're in here, you can also move them up and down, so I can put my number and name there, and then you can build this up until you're happy with the parameters that are going to get exported. So once you've done that, you can then save a selection file onto your hard drive or into a server, and the selection file is will give you the ability to excuse me, it's got some interference on the line. Just see if I can close that down. Yeah, sorry about that. I had a colleague who's making some noise on the line there. So yeah, this selection file here, once you've created all your parameter selections, you can then save that as a file. Click Save As, and you can build up your selection set. So effectively what you're doing is choosing the parameters and the categories that you wish to choose as an export, and then saving those settings into this XML file here. You can build those up. So if you had a standard set of electric circuit exports or mechanical equipment or spaces like I've got here, you can build those up. So each time you come in here, it would be a bit laborious if every time you want to export from any project you had to go into the and obviously choose it all again and try to that you did it in, so you can save those, and so they become your personal selection sets. Or you can put them onto a server, of course, as well, and have like a company-wide set of selection sets. So you can save that in there, and then once you've done that, you can then also choose a location for the export into like an XLS spreadsheet format. So once you've done that, you can then export into the XLS spreadsheet, and then I'll show you how to do that in a second. You can manipulate your data and bring it back in again. So I just want to show you something I've done earlier. So I've done a selection file previously. You can see here this is my current one, but I'm going to pull up one I've done before. So there's heating and cooling space loads. So press OK, and you can see what it's done. It's saved all these parameters in here as I have had them previously selected, as you can see. And it also saved my target file, which is going to create a spreadsheet in this location. So you can even set your actual file location and file name as part of this selection file as well, so you're not typing that every time. So if you're happy with that, just press export, and it says file exists. Once I overwrite it, and yes I will. So press OK, and that's now exported that to Excel. So if I now go into this file here, you can see what's happened. So I've exported all that information, and you can see there that it's exported the room name, number, design, cooling load, heating load, etc., and the volume and the area. So obviously it's all on 0, which is exactly as it's in the model, but we may want to put some formulas in here, so you can come into this worksheet now, and you can base this on, this could be like a rule of thumb before you have your detailed design figured out. So it could be equals, and then choose the area times by 40 watts a square meter or whatever it is, and do the same for the heating. It could be 35 watts times by the area. So you can build that up as you go through, and then obviously just copy those formulas down, and then there's the values being updated. But just in the interest of time, obviously I've saved some of these spreadsheets before. So you can see here I've got some other ones to choose from. So this space import here, you can see here this is one I've already applied some data to in the past. Exactly the same way I've done it, but I've just done it with airflow as well here. And then all we need to do now is go into the Revit model, and then just go spreadsheet import here, and then now we can go to space import like so, and then press OK. And what this will do, it'll give you a list of all the data that's changed in the red column, and the original figure on the left. You can see there, but airflow and cooling loads all going in there. If it only changed a couple of spaces, if I click up at the top left hand corner, it would have filtered it to what's the only data that has any changes associated with it. And you press accept changes, press OK, and you can see now that all my data is now updated with the values into the model. So you can see quite easily that you can now update the data from the Revit model with Excel and apply formulas a lot easier than the Revit format, which is going into a schedule and trying to manipulate the data in Revit, which is quite tedious, because a lot of the functions you get in Excel as a spreadsheet are missing in Revit's own scheduling, such as even copy and paste doesn't exist in Revit schedules, so it can be a very tedious job. So that's a very quick way of updating a lot of your data. And you go to the ventilation view as well, you can see there that the flow rates there are updated. So of course what you could do is take it further, and you can start tagging these excuse me, you start tagging these air terminals with flow rates and see if they match the design, supply and extract rates and things like that. So that's just one example there. So next thing I want to show you is how you can use the same function for room data sheets. I've created a schedule in here called room data sheet schedule, and you can see here I've got a bunch of information across the top, which I've rated, which is about strategy and airflow rates, and mech, event, supply and extract, system comments and things like that, and lighting and fire detection. So all the normal things you might get in a room data sheet. But as I said before, you have to go into here and start typing it in, and there's no copy and paste in here, which is just, as I said, quite irritating. It's quite laborious when you've got a huge project to go through. So what you can do is populate your room data sheets externally to Revit using that Spreadsheet Import Export tool. And so you can then obviously populate your room data sheets with the data you want by engineers externally. So you could have technicians perhaps exporting your standard room data sheet information from Revit, the engineers populating the room data sheets themselves, and then giving it back to the technician, who then re-imports it back into the model. And then you can obviously manipulate that data with colour plans or even deliverables of schedules on drawings and things like that. So if you have a look at that then, so again, Spreadsheet export, and then obviously you could then just do your space similar to before. You get your spaces, then here you can find your all your data in here, HVAC notes and things like that. So this is the room data sheet data. So again, you could just create a standard XML selection set for the room data sheets. So you just export that in a similar manner. So I'm not going to show all this now in the interest of time, but when you do export it in that way, obviously here's the spreadsheet again with all the different data that you can input into there, and then I've updated that as for an import file with all the data that I'd need. So I haven't completed all the rooms in here, just so you know. That's what I'm missing. Just for example's sake, I just started doing it for the first couple of rooms here, but you can see we've got environmental strategy, air change rate, cooling loads and things like that, what the strategy is for the vent thing, relative pressure, summer and winter design temperatures, things like that. So once you've done all that, if you're happy with the data, then you just come back into here, spreadsheet, import, and then choose your room data sheet, press OK, and then you can see here now, this is where I was saying before, you can filter by change elements. Click that, it'll filter it down. You can see what the old and the new data was across the spaces there. Accept changes, press OK. If I go back to the room data sheet schedule, you'll now see it's populated all my room data sheet information, as you can see there, which is great. And then, so now I've got a complete room data sheet schedule, and then ultimately, if you wanted to, traditionally you'd issue room data sheets as like a PDF or a spreadsheet perhaps, but now, especially with an architect and other project members working in BIM, then you can then also have a room data sheet collectively for the whole project in Revit now, so you wouldn't need to even deliver anything but Revit, and then you could just create a sheet like so, like a drawing sheet called room data sheets, and then put the schedule on there, and all the data can be imported into there. You can see how easy that is. So you've got like a live record of all your room data as architects change their information and rooms around and things like that. All you've got to do is keep this updated, and then it should just make your life a lot easier. So you can do your room data sheets hopefully a lot quicker than traditional, and also very importantly, you can keep track of all the room data and architectural room names and numbers and things like that automatically through this process as well. So this is something to think about. It's a very handy way of, in our opinion, of doing a room data sheet, which is very consistent and accurate obviously can be tracked through the project against the architecture. Another use for this spreadsheet import export, the early stage when you're doing concept design, you may want to put some strategy drawings together. So I'm just going to go into this drawing here. So you can see here we've got a strategy drawing, and it's it's color coded with a legend because it's just a simple Revit legend here. And again, this has just been created by Spreadsheet Export, going into spaces, as I showed you before. And then once you've done your strategy data in there, you can then import them back in, as I did through the room data sheet. So this is, I'll show you this again. If you see here, environmental strategy was radiators and fan coil units. So that's where the information came from. So you can do this early stage by just exporting this this one column if you want, rather than all this other data. So you could just be doing the strategy or something like that. And then this data gets back imported into the spaces. So if I go back into Revit and then click on the space, you'll see that all these things I've been describing are all just Revit parameters. You can see here, and you can see there that there's nothing unusual about what we're doing here. It's just making the process a lot easier. So this particular one is environmental strategy, which is FCU. And if you look on the scheme, this is just a Revit function where you can create a color scheme and then put your values in there, which corresponds to the parameter that we've assigned to this space called environmental strategy. But the idea is that you can then, again, export this as a spreadsheet and then filter and sort and do all the things in Excel that make it so much easier than Revit to use, and then re-import it back in again, and it color codes it. So if I did change any of these strategies, if I change this to radiators, you can see it obviously updates to radiators like that. So well, instead of doing it in Revit, you can do it through Excel using that spreadsheet import export tool. And the last thing I was going to show, I think you get the idea of the function. You can also use it for schedules as well, things like that. So you can export air terminals, mechanical equipment, and things like that. And you can sort it and filter it a bit easier in Excel than Revit, and have all the, you can apply formulas and things like that. The functions a bit easier. And the last thing I'm going to show, you can also export electrical circuit data as well. So if you had a project with lots of electrical circuit information in there, which you wanted to put onto a spreadsheet or export it for use in a third-party program or something like that. And if you look at this particular circuit, for instance, then obviously you've got all the circuit data in here, which is provided, plus some of the MagiCAD circuit data as well in this instance, and that can be exported to Excel as well from this view. I'll just show you how that is, and then in the Excel, so here you can see I've exported it. There's my circuit numbers and panel boards and what it's serving, and there's my cable lengths for that. So you can export all this when you want to do any electrical calculations. You can export all this information and then into an Excel sheet like this, and plug that into some other third-party calculation software should you need it. So I think that's pretty much covered the tool and how it works. So very, very useful, especially as I explained, for room data sheets and concept stuff, as well as exporting the data from objects for scheduling and things like that. So I hope that was useful. The normal channels for obtaining information about MagiCAD and any further requirements, any questions you might have on the screen now, so you can get in touch through that. And thank you very much for your time and attention this morning, and hopefully I'll see you on the next webinar in 3 or 4 weeks. Thank you very much.